Hi y'all, it's Old Man Chris back in the shop. Sort of bits and pieces, at least I thought it was going to be, but the main thing I was doing actually took a bit longer than I'd hoped. Oh, by the way, I'm doing my Keith Rucker impression. I've done several odds and ends, but the one thing that did take a little while because it was fiddly, I'd been meaning to make the new platform for the portable bandsaw mount that I made recently. I thought, well, that'll be a quick job, but it was actually a bit of a fiddle, and I haven't got a brake press enough to do 1/8 material, so a bit of bending was awkward. Gave me a chance to play with the plasma cutter again, which worked pretty good. And the other things you'll see as we go along. I think I wanted to check out an ER16 parallel shank collet holder in the lathe chuck, just to see how good or bad run out was. It's not too bad considering. I mean, the chuck's pretty close at about 1 thou, and the piece of rod I put in, although it's silver steel, and I'm not sure quite how good that was, but anyway, that was an adequate little test. And I also went through some small V-blocks that my friend Terry kindly made for me, and it was all done with milling, no grinding, and I put them on the surface plate and did some checks, and overall they're remarkably good considering. I'd be very surprised if with a milling job that you could get absolute 100%. I know I probably couldn't. And so we looked at those, and no, I think that's almost about it actually. When I did the plasma cutting, I cut some aluminum tread plate, and I just showed you what I did with that. Nothing very elaborate, just an extra bit of flat surface, which for me is actually quite dangerous because I fill it straight away. I have no flat surfaces in here to speak of, and I'm still totally behind on anything remotely like tidying up. I come in and want to make something or do something, and getting anything tidied up just doesn't seem to happen. Plus still having 2 bikes taking up floor space, which is a pain in the butt. Anyway, that'll do for an intro. Usual ramble. Here we go. I'll start off with the bandsaw thing because that was probably the main item, and the others are just odds and ends. Okay. I'm just marking up here to make another platform for the small portable bandsaw. This is the original, which is sort of okay, but not really quite big enough. I think some people have made much bigger, but I just want a slight increase in size. So, with all the reflections, I've got a rough profile here, and I've got some cutting to do, so I'm going to use the plasma torch, take that end off, cut that off, and get a rough shape, and then grind to finish. And I've got a piece of aluminum to cut too while I'm at it. So probably a lot of this will be done off camera, and I think when this piece is ready, which is going to be the 90-degree bend, I think I shall probably set that up and get some heat on it. Might do that out in the leg vise, I'm not sure yet. See how we go. I've cut the main bit to spare off. I'm just going to try and get this trimmed down to closer to the size I want. set up for another one. I'm going to set up for trimming out the fiddly bit. I have to do that freehand. This has only got to have a bit cut out here. Got to cut that little piece out, so I think I'll put the old cutting platform on the saw, nip that out. I'll maybe cut out the worst of that. I'm not sure yet which is the best order. But once I've got this out, I've got to get that bend and drill holes first. In fact, this, thinking about it, I could use a milling cutter on that. Well, I've got the plasma set up. This is some nominal 1/8 tread plate aluminum. I'm going to put it to use. This piece with a trim off the edge is going to be a shelf under the weld table, just a surface to carry some clamps and stuff, and not so wide that I can't see underneath to the bottom tray. It's quite a long cut here. First time I've cut any thick aluminum with the plasma. Different characteristics. Slight mark here and there, but otherwise it went fairly well. Ground off the bits. Now this is only 12-inch, so it's not going to be a huge shelf. But as I mentioned, I don't want to obscure what's on the bottom tray. So, let's see if we can get this bit off. I just missed the start on there, otherwise I think we're good. That's the classic tread plate pattern. I've had this piece for years. I think my late father, who died in 1997 and retired, I don't know, probably about 1990 or earlier, gave me this piece. He was in the business. So it's been put to good use. I'm drilling for the flange first before I try and do a bend. And this is just clearance. I've got to go back to 0 on the DRO now. That's always have to be careful not to overshoot. That's my X. Let's get the Y. Oh, overshot. There we are, that'll do. Right, we've got the holes. Now I've got to cut out this corner. I'll do that on the portable bandsaw. Just get a couple of small slices and then work out how I'm going to bend that. I'm going to put some heat on it, but I'm not sure which vise I'm going to use yet. Well, I use this to cut that little corner out. I was going to point out too, whilst I'm there, when I made the mount I put some cork in here, but to lock it, I think somebody suggested it actually, just a simple wooden shim. Take the shim out and take the saw out, the whole thing out, yeah. So that works quite well. Anyway, got to work out now how I'm going to bend this. Probably put an oxy flame on it, I think. Try and do it at the main bench to save it's wet outside for my leg vise, which anybody who remembers, it sits outside. I wish I had a brake press that would cope with 1/8, but I haven't. And I don't know whether I've got a small enough, sorry, large enough nozzle here. Have to see how it goes. Well, that was pretty crude, so I let that cool off and probably cold work it to finish, about the best I can manage really. So let it cool, see where we are after that. I'm just milling a slot in here. I've decided not to take it all in one cut. You know what it's like with, well, we've gone through the mill scale, but hot rolled stuff, it's often pretty damn hard. I'm just putting a 6mm down. I'm going to take a second cut and then a final, so I'll bring you back when we're finishing off. I should just be a last cut here. I don't think this milling cut is all that good actually. Well, we got through, but making pretty hard work of it. It just happened to be a convenient cutter. So what I'd have to do now is get this cleaned up and deburred and see where we go from there. Just a quick handheld here. So we got the fixing. Now when I'd heat bent this, it didn't come out very even, and this was a little bit raised in effect, so I've ground that off to clean it because there were hammer marks. And the slot, hang on a minute. The slot is slightly off center. The other one was actually. I measured as best as I could, but anyway, I don't know whether that shows. Got pretty close to 90, and that was partly why I had to do so much beating here, because the bend was not consistent originally. Alright, so the small job of work platform turned out to be quite fiddly, in fact. So that's done, and as I mentioned earlier, they've got a wooden shim in there, so we're pretty much good to go, I think. This isn't huge, but it gives me a much better area to work on. I don't think that's going to I don't think that's going to foul. The belt's tensioned, the blade is tensioned now. I'd like that to have been in the middle, but it isn't. So there we are. My friend Terry, who makes me all sorts of stuff, a little while ago he sent me these little mini V-blocks. I haven't got any quite this small, and because I don't use a huge vise, we thought this might be useful. Now these were made entirely by milling. So there are the little fellas. Pretty darn useful. But he wasn't sure how good the accuracy was. And of course, if you haven't got a surface grinder and trying to work to very fine limits, milling is not that easy. Anyway, I've done some. I don't think you'll see the gauge. I haven't set 0. Just watching the needle. And all in all, there, probably about half a thou. I've gone through most surfaces now, and again about half a thou, and I think on the sides, which I did check earlier, that's about a thou. And to be honest, I wouldn't expect everything to be perfect on that. It's a hell of a job. And that side's about the same, so you could reckon that there's pretty good parallelism there. I think you did a great job. I'm always saying thank you, Terry, but I say thank you again, because these could be extremely useful. Sort of thing that's nice to have when you're a bit pushed for space in the vise. Now, this won't be very steady. I just thought I'd check out, because I hadn't done it. I've got a parallel Arbor ER16 holder. I've got one for the mill, but I thought, well, occasionally I want small collets, which will be easier to set up than the C5s. Not the C5s, C3 I think. Anyway, I've just whacked this in with a bit of rod. I don't know whether the indicator needle's very clear, but at the moment I've got 2 thou, I think. And I think the chuck itself is set up. Yeah, I think the chuck's set up for about a thou. As a matter of fact, I did check. I can't see what I'm doing here. I did check with an indicator on here, and that was basically the same as the expected chuck run out of a thowish. So I don't know whether this rod's perfect. It's just a short piece of 5/16 I had. Anyway, that's about 2 thou, which I don't think is too bad for that sort of concoction, bearing in mind that that is an import, but actually very good value, all things considered. Sorry, handheld again here. That piece of aluminum that I cut was just to add a little bit of storage under this rather inadequate weld table. It's on a wheeled base and the bottom tray is pretty full up, but to make some of the clamps more easily accessible, I just cut that plate. The far side's supported on a sort of tool rack they include, and this side there's a piece of 6mm all thread going across, quite adequate, but I'd certainly like a bigger weld table, that's for sure, but try and manage. I have to say thank you to one of my viewers, Gary Fuller. Little flat rate box arrived the other day with 4 pairs of gloves. They're nice soft leather, no gauntlet, but that doesn't matter because if you've got sleeves that'll do, and very often a smaller glove is quite adequate. The thing is they're soft so you get some feel. Very nice. Thank you, Gary. Thanks a lot. Alright guys, that's it for this one. Nothing hyper exciting, just routine stuff to get done in the shop, and I've got a couple of items I want to try and run through sometime out of interest. And also somebody, I can't remember who it was, referred to my carriage stop on the old lathe. There's nothing very elaborate about it, but I might just show it again because it's so simple, but it sure as heck saves me a lot of time when I'm threading, for instance. Anyway, that's it. Thanks to my subscribers. I'm amazed and appreciative as always. Thanks for sharing and visiting the old man's shop. See you before too long, I hope. Bye for now. Thanks for watching.